family life,
Yep. Everywhere.
relationships.
Yeah.
You know, it does apply everything, because one of the things that grinds the gears of most people is when you say leave everything outside of the club, you know, you come in like fresh minded, but it's almost impossible. Like it's impossible now, especially with the rise with social media and all that. Like you can't just leave things outside the club room doors. You got to make sure that, you know, you write things down, or you speak to someone, or you take time out. Like you just got to step away and deal with other things before you can come in. Because if you do come in with those things, it's not just you as well. You actually put negative energy, if that's a thing, onto other people. And it, like, I think maybe negative energy is like a wrong term, but you do feel that when someone comes in and they feel, you know, a bit down, or there's something not quite right, and they're not kind of prepared to open up to someone or kind of speak up, and you can feel it off on someone.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Like I don't think, I always thought that, energy is a bit like woo-woo, a bit like spiritual, but I'm realizing now,
it's like a presence type of thing.
We're feeding off of each other's energy. We're also approaching things with a certain energy. So are you going to training and you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. Like today was really bad.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you're in that space, it's so much quicker to get irritated by the coach, by mistakes, versus are you going to training like, okay, I'm tired and I had a hard day, but I'm going to make the most out of being here. That flipping energy within you is going to affect how you see things that happen in training, and then how you respond to them. Your teammates are going to feed. I agree that you feed off of each other's energy. You see it in people's body language. You also will feel that energy. I like to use the example of if you were to go and watch a basketball game and you couldn't look at the scoreboard, you'd be able to say what team's winning, what team's losing, just by looking at, you know, their body language. And you'll see, you know, it might start with one person and you'll see it grow and grow and grow to everyone. So it's
interesting.
A lot there.
Have you experimented at all with like meditating or meditation at all?
Yeah, so I do a lot of mindfulness.
Yep.
That's one of the things I also get the young athletes to do.
Does that apply to that situation? Like if someone does come in, probably need to take 5 minutes just to like a reset. Is that kind of the right way to think about like a mindfulness?
Yeah. So at my NBL 1 team, which is used to be SBL.
Okay.
It's the season I'm in now in Perth. We do mindfulness for 5 minutes before every training.
Yep.
So that, you know,
as a team,
it helps people cut off the day and head into training with a good energy. That's what we're hoping for anyway.
Yeah.
But I do encourage the young athletes to develop some sort of mindfulness practice daily, just because it's going to help them regulate emotions. So when they're in that moment where they can either react to the ref's bad call, or they can respond in line with what's going to help them play the way they want to play, then, you know, that's a tool that they can use for that.
Do you mind sharing how, like, is there any type of, like, how does one mind, like, you just come in, sit down, reflect on the day, or is there a set kind of questions you ask yourself and relax that way? Or is there a way that you do it?
Normally I'll find, you know, any of the apps.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Headspace
is fantastic. You can just go on YouTube and find something. But even so, they're for the guided mindfulness ones, which help if you don't. It's a practice.
Yes.
So quite often I think people do it for one time. They're like, oh, I couldn't concentrate. I suck at it. I'm not doing it. Yeah. It's a really easy trap to fall into. But you've got to get better. You can get better at it the more you practice. But it's not about judging how you go. It's about, you know, like in that moment, okay, today wasn't, you know, exactly what I wanted whatever, but that's what that experience was for me in that moment. I'm not going to judge myself for it. But yeah, so sitting, just, you know, you only need about 5 minutes a day, has been proven to increase your ability to regulate your emotions.
Oh, wow.
5 minutes of it's just about an essence of paying attention to the thoughts coming into your mind and not following them. So you do that by focusing on your breathing, and then your mind will wander, which is totally normal. It's supposed to. But then it's like, oh, I just started to think about basketball. I'm not going to follow that right now. I'm going to come back to my breath. Oh, now I'm thinking about all those stress at work. I'm not going to follow that. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to come back to my breath. And it'll happen. It can happen a lot and a lot. But it's just about some quiet time for your mind. Just let it breathe and relax.
Does that also training as well? So if something bad happens on the court or on the field, you can easily just bring yourself back to what's happening in that moment. So you don't want to reflect on someone's poor kick because really they didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously. You don't really want to focus on one bad kick. You want to get back and focus on what's happening now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that developing that mindfulness will help you do that in those moments on the court or the field, because that's like probably the hardest thing to do. In that moment, it feels so right to be angry and frustrated and to let that eat away at you. But then you're taking an action because of that emotion and that thought. If the good athletes can have an awareness of the thought that's coming up or that emotion, that anger, that frustration, and then let it go and then refocus on game goals or where's the ball? Like, what am I doing right now in this moment? Oh, I've got to get back on defense. I can do that instead of reacting to that emotion.
Interesting. How did you kind of come about as a team to do this mindfulness before trainings? Is that you spoke to the coach, or was it like a team thing
that wasn't me? Yeah, that was a team thing that one of our assistant coaches, she was still studying at the time, and she wanted to see the effect that had on performance. So they brought it in for every training, and we've been doing it for 3 years.
Oh, wow, 3 years.
Yeah.
And you felt like have other players said that's made the difference, or they feel better?
I think I feel better.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you go into it just doing it because you have to do it, well, then that's what you're going to get from it. But if you go into it with, okay, this really is 5 minutes just to chill. Yeah. And just to let my mind rest, then they're getting something.
I feel like that's the same with a lot of things. Like if you go in kind of not with not saying you're not doing it 100%, but if you're not going in with the right attitude to succeed at something, then you're never really going to get the full benefit out of something. Yeah. They might, if you're not going in with 80% intent of doing this mindfulness properly, or with the effect of actually trying to make yourself better, then you won't get as much out of it as someone who does go in with the most.
It's a good question to ask yourself, like, what's my intention? Like, set your own intention for what you're doing, what you're going into every situation with, every interaction with a person even. What am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Set your intention instead of, half-assing it sometimes and getting away with it.
You were saying you worked as well with school kids that don't actually have not athletes as well. Do they differ much with how you work with them? Like you were saying, use the sport as a driver. With the kids who aren't athletes, is there a different way you approach them, or?
Well, usually all kids play sport. Yeah. So I can still use that as the vehicle, but it's easier when I talk to basketball athletes because I've walked that path and that's easier for me to relate.